Hi everyone, myself Dr. P. Soumya, working as an assistant professor in the Department of Chemistry, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering College. In this session, I'm going to cover the topic of classification of natural resources. Classification of natural resources. So here, I'm going to cover the topics resources on the earth, why natural resources are important, components of biosphere, present status of natural resources in India. Here classification of resources. Here resources natural. So these resources are divided into two types: natural resources and human resources. So these natural resources again divided into two types: renewable resources, non-renewable resources. So renewable again these divided into two types: continuous or flow resources, biological resources. So biological resources, these include natural vegetation, wildlife. So these includes natural vegetation, wildlife. So here non-renewable, so these are recyclable, non-recyclable. So these two types, recyclable, non-recyclable. So human resources, so these are structures and institutions, quantity and quality. So these are come under human resources. So resources are two types: natural and human resources. So these natural resources again divided into renewable and non-renewable. Renewable, so this is biological resources, continuous resources. So biological, natural vegetation and wildlife. So whereas non-recycle, not renewable, recyclable and non-recyclable. So classification of resources, this is on the basis of exhaustibility. So these are two types: renewable resources and non-renewable resources. So three types of classification is there. So on the basis of exhaustibility, so natural resources are divided into two types: renewable resources and non-renewable resources. So on the basis of origin, so biotic and abiotic resources. So on the basis of origin, it is two types: biotic and abiotic resources. So on the basis of ownership, so it is individual resources, community resources, national resources, international resources. So here three types of classification is there. So first one is on the basis of exhaustibility, we have two types: renewable and non-renewable resources. On the basis of origin, again two types. So that is biotic natural resources and abiotic resources. So on the basis of ownership, so four types are there. So individual resources, community resources, national resources and international resources. So what are non-renewable and renewable sources? These are natural resources. Exhaustible or non-renewable resources. So what is meant by exhaustible or non-renewable resources? So inexhaustible or renewable, resourceable. So exhaustible, they cannot be generated again. So here natural resources which are limited and which get reduced in a quantity after use are called as exhaustible or non-renewable resources. The natural resources which are limited and which get reduced in quantity after use are called as exhaustible or non-renewable resources. So these can be exhausted after usage. So here the resources which are available in plenty in nature and can be renewed are called as inexhaustible or renewable resources. So which sources are renewed? This can again renewed. So this is called as inexhaustible or renewable resources. These can be generated. These resources again regenerated after some time. So these are called as inexhaustible or renewable resources. So examples of non-renewable sources are coal, petroleum, natural gas and metals. So coal, petroleum, natural gas, metals, these are come under non-renewable resources or exhaustible resources because these cannot be renewed again. So here, whereas in renewable resources, So air, water and sunlight. So these are renewable resources and these can be regenerated again. So these are renewable and non-renewable resources. So what are renewable resources? The renewable resource is a natural resource that can be used and replaced over a relatively short time. So this is a renewable resource, is a natural resource that can be used and replaced over a relatively short time. So although they can be replaced, we have often used them more quickly than they can be replaced. So although they can be replaced, we have often used them more quickly as they can be replaced. So examples of these renewable resources are, we know that water and trees. So these are renewable resources we are using some more than than it can be uh, than the production of these sources we are using. Here these are renewable resources and the examples are water and trees. So what are non-renewable resources? Here not all of the earth source resources are renewable. So a non-renewable resource is a natural resource that cannot be replaced or that can be replaced only over thousands or millions of years. So it is a non-renewable resource, is a natural resource. So that cannot be replaced or it can be replaced only over thousands or millions of years. So it can be replaced, but it will take thousands or millions of years. So this is non-renewable resource. So the earth only has a certain amount of non-renewable resources at any given time. So examples of these non-renewable resources are oil, petroleum, natural gas and coal, etc. So these all are come under non-renewable resource. These can be replaced only over a thousand or millions of years. So this cannot replaced in a short time. So what are non-renewable resources? Here example energy resources, metal resources, non-metal resources. Energy resources here coal, oil, natural gas, etc. Metal resources are iron, copper, aluminium, etc. Many metals. So non-metal resources salt, clay, sand. These are non-renewable resources. This is again divided into three types: energy resources. So the coal, oil, natural gas, these will give energy. So these are energy resources. Examples of energy resources are coal, oil, natural gas. So metal resources are iron metal, copper metal and aluminum metal. So non-metal resources are salt, clay, sand, etc. So metal ores. So example of metal ore, cinnabar. This is a ore of mercury. So zinc sulfide, zinc and many more. So we know that many metal ores are there on the earth crust. So example of cinnabar, it is a ore of mercury, and zinc sulfide, zinc and many more are these are come under metal resources. Rare earth elements, rare earth elements. So they are also referred to as a rare earth oxides or lanthanides. So we know that rare earth elements or lanthanides. So these are also referred as rare earth oxides or lanthanides. So they are usually a set of 17 indistinguishable, lustrous, silvery, white, soft, heavy metals. So these are also non-renewable resources. So next one is petroleum. So it refers to crude oil also, and it is naturally occurring. You see, this is a natural resource and it is a yellow blackish liquid found in geological forms. It is defined as fuels. So it can be defined as fuel. It is used to produce energy. It is used as a fuel, and it is a the color of this petroleum is yellow and blackish liquid. It is found in geological forms and it is defined as fuels. So energy, what is energy? A quantitative property. It is a quantitative property that must be moved or transferred to an object to perform work or heat. It is a quantitative property that must be moved or transferred to an object to perform work or to heat. This is called as energy. So what are fossil fuels? What are fossil fuels? These are also non-renewable resources. So here the energy resources are natural resources that humans use to generate energy. So we know that energy resources are used for the production of energy. So most of the energy we use comes from fossil fuels. So we nowadays we are using fuels. So these are mostly comes from fossil fuels. A fossil fuel, it is a non-renewable energy resource and formed from the remains of plants, animals that lived long ago. So these are fossil fuel is a non-renewable resource and it is formed from the remains of plants and animals that lived long ago. So these are fossil fuel. Why these is fossil fuels? We are producing energy. So this is called as energy resource. So when these fossil fuels are burned, they produce energy. So we know that when the fossil fuels are burned, they produce energy. However, when these fossil fuels are burned and because they are non-renewable resources, they can depleted. So they are depleted. So when we are using the fossil fuels for production of energy, but these are non-renewable resources. So these can be depleted after usage of fossil fuels. So once they are used up and gone, new supplies won't be available for thousands or millions of years. So once they are used up and gone, so new supplies won't be available for thousands and millions of years. So this is called as depletion. This is called as depletion. So, what are fossil fuels? The fossil fuels are arguably one of the most valuable natural resources in modern times. So, these are most valuable natural resources in modern times. So, it is estimated that 86% of world energy comes directly from the burning of fossil fuels. So, almost all in 100% up to 86% of the world energy it comes from the directly from the burning of fossil fuels. So fossil fuels are the source of energy for almost every machine, including the generators that produce electric energy. So we are using for the even though we are using for these fossil fuels for the production of electrical energy. So these are source of energy for almost every machine, including the generators that produce electrical energy. So here, because the fossil fuels takes so long to form, they are being consumed faster than they can be produced. So we know that these are non-renewable resources and this can be replaced for longer, thousands or millions of years. So the fuels, these will form, fossil fuels take so long to form, so long to produce again. So they are being consumed faster than they can be produced. So fossil fuels are major contributor to air pollution because when they are burned, they release many dangerous gases such as dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, methane, and carbon dioxide. So here these fossil fuels are made up of carbon. So here these will produce the most dangerous when we are burning fossil fuels. So these will produce most dangerous gases such as nitrogen dioxide, methane, and carbon dioxide. So here example, so we are taking natural gas or oil or coal or renewable sources when these are used for the electrical energy production. So but we are burning the fossil fuels for the production of electric energy. So while production of energy, so we are producing dangerous gases such as nitrogen dioxide, methane, and carbon dioxide. So how is coal formed? How is coal formed? Here, before the dinosaurs, many game plants died in swamps. So 300 million years ago, so before dinosaurs, many game plants, many big plants. So they died in swamps. So water, 100 million years ago, dirt and dead plants. Dirt and dead plants. So here over millions of years, so the plants buried under water and dirt. So 300 millions years ago, before dinosaurs, many gained plants. There are also plants. So these are died in swamps. And here 100 billion millions years ago, the plants were buried under the water and dirt. So here heat and pressure, rocks and dirt, here coal, we are having three layers. Heat and pressure turned the dead plants into coal. So here in swamps we are getting, and under the water and also under the rock. So here heat and pressure, it is turned the dead plants into coal. So finally we are getting coals from the plants. So by giving pressure and temperature, we are not here, the nature is giving pressure and temperature. So before the dinosaurs, many gained plants died in the swamps. So in that case also, so the plants are producing coal. In the case over millions of years ago, the plants were buried under the water and dirt. So these are also producing coal. So we can get rocks and under the rocks and dirt. So here because of heat and more heat and pressure, the plants which are, so these are dead into the which are buried in the dirt, so these can be converted into coal. So like this coal is formed over a million years ago. How is oil or natural gas formed? So here 300 or 400 million years ago, tiny sea plants and animals died and were buried on the ocean floor. They are buried on the ocean floor. So over time they were covered by layers of silt and sand. Oh, so here covered by layers of silt and sand. So by this we got the natural gas, and so over millions years ago the remains were buried deeper and deeper. So the enormous heat and pressure turned them into oil and gases. So here, by the plants we are getting coal, and by the plants and animals, so died and animals and plants we are getting oil and natural gas. So here today we drill down through layers of sand, silt, and rock to reach the rock formations that contain the gas deposits. So here we are having natural gas and oil oil spots in the oceans and under the earth crust. So here we are we drill down through layers of sand, silt and rock to reach the rock formations that contain oil and gas deposits. Oil and gas deposits, so these are coal and natural gas. So these are formed over a millions years ago, over a years ago. So these are non-renewable resources. What are the difference between biotic and non-biotic resources? So another classification, we know the biotic and abiotic resources. So what are the differences between biotic and abiotic resources? So biotic resources. So these biotic factors include all living components present in ecosystem. So these are all living components present in ecosystem. These come under biotic resources. Abiotic factors refers to the all the non-living, so physical conditions, chemical factors that influence an ecosystem. So examples of biotic resources include all flora and fauna. And example, all living things come under biotic resources. Example of biotic factors include sunlight, water, air, humidity, pH, temperature, salinity, precipitation, altitude, type of soil, minerals, wind. So dissolved oxygen, mineral nutrients present in soil, air and water, etc. So these are all non-living components. These come under abiotic resources. Biotic factors depend on abiotic factors for survival and reproduction. So abiotic factors are completely independent of biotic factors. So biotic factors are dependent on abiotic factors for survival and reproduction. So abiotic factors are these are purely completely independent of biotic factors. So biotic components originate from the biosphere. So biotic components originate from the lithosphere, hydrosphere, and atmosphere. Abiotic components originate from the lithosphere, hydrosphere, and atmosphere. So these are the differences between biotic and abiotic resources. So what are alternative resources? Most of our energy needs comes from the use of fossil fuels, but there there are two main problems with fossil fuels. So most of our energy needs comes from the use of fossil fuels. But there are two main problems with fossil fuels. So here availability is limited because this is non-renewable resource. So the availability is limited. So obtaining and using fossil fuel harms the environment. We are producing so many harmful chemicals and harmful gases. So these are very harmful for the environment. So we are obtaining using fossil fuels harms the environment. And to continue to have energy but reduce pollution, we must find alternative energy sources. So we need energy, and we should not use we are using fossil fuel, so we have to reduce the pollution. We must find alternative energy sources. For reducing the pollution, we must find alternative energy sources. So here these are the sum of alternative energy sources. So like all things, each alternative energy has pros and cons. So nuclear energy, and this is energy from fission or fusion reactions. So these are alternative energy sources: nuclear energy, solar energy, wind energy, hydroelectricity, biomass, and geothermal. These are all energies are come under alternative energy resources. So nuclear energy it is a comes from fission or fusion reactions. Solar energy, we know that energy from the sun. Wind energy, it is energy from wind. So hydroelectricity, it is an energy from the flow of water. Energy from the flow of water. So biomass, it is energy from burning organic or living matter. So geothermal, that is energy from the earth. Geothermal, that is energy from the earth. So these energy sources are inexhaustible, meaning they are constant and will not run out. So these energy sources are inexhaustible, meaning they are constant and will not run run out. So these are alternative energy resources: and nuclear energy, solar energy, wind energy, hydroelectricity, biomass, and geothermal energies. So this is about natural resources. Thank you so much.
Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.